7 parts, I'll start this over. The 7 parts to starting your speech is you want to first go to the power center of the room, the very center where everyone can see you, and you're there now. Then get in the power stance, feet wider than your shoulders like a tripod. And then you look around to manage attention. You make sure everyone's looking up, no one's writing, no one's texting, and if someone is, you just very gently clear your voice to get them to look up, to stop reading. What you don't do is that, clap your hands or do something aggressive. Look up. No, you just gently get people to pay attention to you. Following that, you find friendly eyes near the front and the center to focus on during the first minute of your speech. I call that finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name is Trish Sala.
Oh, did you give me your outline? You need to give me your outline first. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, now we're rolling.
Hi, my name is...
a little bit higher. Yeah. Okay, good.
Hi, my name is Trish Sala. And
Hi,
today,
Patricia.
And today I'll be talking about nonverbal instruct. But before I do so, let me talk about language. There are 6,500 languages in the world, and these can range from the English language, the Spanish language, and the Chinese language. And there's also languages that are dead, such as the Coptic language and Latin. But the most universal out of all of these languages is body language. Body language strips someone to their bare core and allows you to see their thoughts and their feelings without a facade. And if you just go ahead and look around, without talking, you can see someone transparently. So what I did on Friday was I did an experiment where I wanted to see how people showed respect through my non-verbalness. I did so, but before I talk about this, let me tell you about respect. Respect is an admiration of someone due to their qualities, abilities, or traits, or even achievements. And now, let me go ahead and tell you about my experiment. The first thing that I learned is that common courtesy is a form of respect. I was going into my elevator, and I was heading downstairs, and there was this guy who yelled, "Wait, hold the elevator." So I quickly put my hand on the open button, and sure enough, the elevator doors swung open. And as they swung open, he was a little bit flustered, but he smiled, and he said thank you. A little while later, I found myself in the same situation. I was going into my building, taking my Bruin card out, and this guy was a few feet from me. He had opened the door already and was ready to go in, and could have gone in and closed the door and waited for me to take my own Bruin card and swipe myself in. But he waited for me, and so I smiled, and I said thank you. This goes to show that respect can be easy and mutual. It can be simple and even paid forward in the long run and returned back to you. The second thing that I learned is that common courtesy and common respect isn't always common. I was sitting in my lounge and I was typing up an introduction for this paper, and I was trying to figure out what to write when these kids walk in. They were with their friends laughing and talking about the school day, and I was sitting inside and working on my paper, and they tried to be a little bit quiet, but whispers turned into giggles, and giggles turned into laughs that were really loud. So I did what anyone would do. I shot them a look, nothing too crazy, and they quieted down. But again, whispers turned into laughs, and laughs turned into louder laughs. And so this just goes to show that if your focus isn't on respecting other people, that you might fall behind and not show your respect to this person. The third thing that I learned is that what is really common? As I was walking back, flustered from not being able to write my paper, I saw someone's door open, and I went ahead and I waved hi. And these students invited me in and introduced themselves, and I had found out that they were international students. As I walked into the room smelled of medicinal balms, and I was quickly reminded of my roommate from last year. My roommate from last year was from Hong Kong, and she had these weird quirks such as hand washing her clothes and putting them up in her shower, or turning the heat up too high because she wasn't used to the cold, or not wanting anyone in the room because she was in her pajamas and she was embarrassed after 9 o'clock. And so with this, I went and I talked to those new girls on my floor this year, and I accepted them with open arms, and I found out that they were excited to be here, excited to be in a new country, and learn what it's like to go to an American school and even learn about our culture. And so the third thing that I learned is that there is an ugly truth in our society that what's common to us may not exactly be common because we come from different cultures. And so, these past 48 hours, I learned 3 very important things. I learned that common courtesy can be a sign of respect. What's common isn't necessarily common to everyone. And everyone has their own sense of what is common in different cultures. And from these 3 things, I learned that even though we all come from different viewpoints and different types of cultures, we all want respect and we all want to be heard. And with this being said, someone that we respect is someone that we admire, maybe share a trait or a quality with, or someone that we aspire to be. And the easiest form of respect through this is the most universal language of all, and that's the ability to make someone smile. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff, for your critique. Okay, the next thing that happens in class is that we go around the room and we first start with a positive comment and then a suggestion for improvement. So let's start here. Just leave the camera on her. With a real loud, booming voice. Stand up, say your name, and say what you like, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joshua Yu.
Hi, Josh.
Hi. So what I liked about your speech was you're very vocal, and you look to everybody in the room and you show them equal respect, just as your speech was like. And you made sure you gave eye contact to everybody, and you even you moved around a little bit, which is okay, which is great, because you add some flow to your speech, and you address all your points, and it just helps you get relaxed, which is fine. And also, I liked how you organized your speech. Was three points and what you learned, and made it really easy for everyone to understand and what you went through your experience.
Good. Thank you, Josh. How can she improve? No. Next question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Su Yan.
Su Yan?
Yeah.
Hi, Su Yan. Come on, give her a Alcoholics Anonymous welcome.
I'm an international student. I'm from China.
Great.
Yeah, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. And what I liked about your speech was that your eye contact, and you appear to be really warm and likable on stage. So it's like you were very engaging, so that the audience would love to hear what you want to say. And also the organization of your speech, you put it into the good, the bad, the ugly. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and then especially in the end, you go back to your message and you reiterate it, so that everybody can remember what the message was.
How can she improve?
Oh, how can you? I would say. I don't know.
She was perfect.
Yeah, it's like you're like a very good speaker.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more assertive. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me give you some feedback, Patricia. I liked your speech, and thank you again for going first. Yeah. Appreciate that very much. I agree you're a very likable speaker, and I can't teach that. I'd love to bottle it and sell it, because you can't, not everyone is. And it's a good quality. You're warm, you're likable, and that sort of thing. What I'm looking for, and it's a little late, too late for Patricia, but not for the rest of you. One thing I was looking for in the beginning was a better preview that stood out, a roadmap of, I'm going to tell you about the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to tell you 3 things and what I learned. Really with your voice, so it stood out. So the preview, so we had a roadmap that really told the audience where you were going. On your first story of the elevator, that was good. On the lounge, your nonverbal of shooting the look was okay. And then being invited into the room and reminded of the multiple cultural thing. What I didn't see or get from you, and what I think I know you were doing this, you were practicing the exercises. What I didn't see was times when you were practicing the exercise, saying the mantra to yourself, "I respect you," all the time, and then being ignored, or being misunderstood, or something like that, or being treated rudely and still being able to say the mantra. And that's the real challenge of this. I liked your closing. I thought it was excellent. So you did a really nice job. Thank you. Okay, another volunteer? Yeah, come on down. What is this? Yeah. Thank you. I'll take your outline, please.
I forgot to staple it.
Sorry, I'll start bringing a stapler to class. You're the second one in a row that didn't staple it.
Okay, that's good.
So you're not alone, Julia.
Good to know I'm not alone.
Okay. She's managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia.
Hi, Julia.
Hi. Through practicing nonverbal respect over the past few days, I learned that I personally think there are two distinct forms of nonverbal respect. The first form is much more traditional and intentional, while the second form happens more in passing and is more spontaneous. Things such as being quiet when others are speaking, listening and absorbing what they have to say, giving up your seat on the bus for an elderly person, or even paying homage to those who have passed through ceremonial bowing or prayer, are all examples of nonverbal respect that are more traditional and correspond with societal customs. The second type of nonverbal respect, like I said, happens more in passing and is more of a spur-of-the-moment type of thing. Holding the door open for someone when they're behind you, making eye contact and smiling at someone when you pass by, and making and holding eye contact when you first meet someone are all types of nonverbal respect that are considered courteous mannerisms, but happen more so in the spur of the moment. So over the past few days, from executing this nonverbal respect and receiving this nonverbal respect, I've accumulated a good, a bad, and an ugly story that I would like to share for all of you, or to all of you. Okay, so over the weekend, a few days ago, I went to Santa Monica with my friends, and I took the bus there. About 2 stops in, an elderly man came on the bus who seemed disabled because he had a problem walking. It seemed pretty severe, and he could have potentially been homeless. I'm not 100% positive, but when he got on the bus, I'm sure we've all been in this situation. When we see a senior, we've been taught our entire lives to give up our seat for them as a respect for seniority. And because the bus was full, and because I have that custom instilled in myself, because my mom has reinforced it time and time again, of course I gave up my seat for him. About 2 minutes later, he looked to me and profusely thanked me for me giving up my seat to him, and then proceeded to say something along the lines of, "Kids these days just aren't courteous as they used to be." Now, I'm not entirely sure if he was mentally stable or not, but from this story, I think it's completely irrelevant. Even though what I did wasn't super substantial, and I feel like it was more expected of me to give up my seat, I still knew that I respected him and still knew that he was senior to me, so I had to respect him and give him what he deserved. I learned that when you respect someone, you have to consider where they're coming from in order to have your respect do any justice. Even if he was mentally unstable, and even if, you know, he assumed that that was supposed to happen, I still respected him for who he was and took it with a whole heart, and everything, it turned out good. So if you consider where someone is coming from and treat them accordingly, everyone should be a happy camper. And I think I was more proud of what I did because I wasn't expecting him to thank me so much. especially since like it's kind of traditional non-respect. We assume that, you know, we're going to give up our seat for someone who's a senior. So that was good, and I felt really good about that, so that's my good story. As far as my not a good story goes, I wouldn't say bad, but over the past few weeks, sorority recruitment has been going on, and for those of you in Greek life, I know that I'm in Greek life, so I can speak for all of us. There's definitely a competitive vibe during sorority recruitment. So I'd say girls in sororities are definitely more reluctant to talk with one another and like make eye contact when passing each other on hill guard, just because there is this passive-aggressive tension and everyone wants to recruit the best members that they can possibly recruit. So being in Greek life, I decided, you know, to be friendly, I like to be nice to people, so every time I passed a girl on hill guard, which is where all the sororities are, that I didn't know, I would smile at her and acknowledge her, not only to alleviate tension that we were all experiencing, but to show that, you know, I respected them. And when you do something like this, when you smile at a complete stranger, it ventures into precarious territory because you can either make eye contact with someone and have like a small intimate connection that's very short, or like you can awkwardly look at each other and then look away, and then you feel kind of stupid if you initiated the smile or whatnot. But as far as like how it went, I looked at every girl, thought, you know, I respect you, I know we're kind of not competing, but there's a lot of tension. And the results I got weren't the best. Most of the time the girls looked away immediately, like just because, you know, of the tension and the vibe going on. And obviously, like, I'm not saying sorority girls aren't friendly at all, but, you know, it's in life when there's a competitive vibe, you know, people are less reluctant to, you know, smile and look at each other. So what I learned from all of that was that the person receiving the act of respect, if they feel it's inappropriate or awkward or just like makes them uncomfortable, the act of respect will be unsuccessful, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't always try to put your best face forward and be friendly and smile at one another. So, and I also learned that different cultures have different standards of respect. So even if you think something's innocent and, you know, totally respectful, other people at the time or whatever they're going through, you know, may not take it as well as you do. But overall, everyone's very friendly in sororities. I'm not trying to say they're not. So, and my third story is more of the ugly side. It wasn't me more so like initiating the respect, but kind of the response I got. I was in Santa Monica, and what I was wearing, like, wasn't super conservative, but wasn't super revealing, and I went into this store that was definitely targeted for older women, so what I was wearing didn't really correspond with the vibe of the store. I smiled at the store owner, and like she smiled back. It was totally nice, and everything was okay. But I could tell this one woman who was shopping there was looking at me in the corner of her eye the entire time, kind of judging me for what I was wearing and how I looked, which actually really surprised me because, as we all know, LA is a very, you know, opening community compared to the more conservative places like in the Midwest where I'm from. So it wasn't exactly the best feeling. Obviously, we've all felt judged before, but it's bad being judged and also feeling like you've been degraded in some way just for being who you are. So I know that wasn't a story of me like initiating respect, but it was kind of a disrespectful response that I received that I can see is definitely the ugly side, even when you try to put your best face forward. Throughout the whole entire exercise and the whole experience, I definitely learned that obviously you should always put your best face forward and respect everyone, even if the response isn't ideal. Obviously with the sorority girls, I consider, okay, there was a lot going on. So even though I respect you, just because you didn't respond in the way that I wanted you to, doesn't mean that, you know, you don't like me. And obviously, like I talked about traditional respect and more like in the moment respect, I feel like with traditional respect, like giving up your seat for someone on the bus, that's more assumed, so thank you isn't always necessary. But with spontaneous respect, like looking someone in the eye when you first meet them, that's more, you can't really judge how it's going to turn out. Some people are awkward or uncomfortable or feel awkward, not that they are awkward. So you really just have to take every experience at face value and realize the underlying factors and the social situation, and always be respectful even though it may turn out not the way that you want it to. So that's all.
Good. We're here.
What I like.
Hi, my name is Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
And what I like about your speech was that you were, I kind of like that it didn't necessarily have like a form. I mean, you followed through it. Obviously, you said your story, but it was kind of like you gave a lot of detail that didn't sound like you remembered everything. You know what I mean? Like you kind of improvised. And I really liked that. It didn't sound like you had everything in your head, so it made it more like natural. Yeah.
You were shooting for extemporaneous speaking, and it will have that spontaneous quality at times. That's what we're shooting for. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
I would say, yeah, if I was going to give you the good feedback, I would also say the natural thing, but I think as that progressed, like being so natural, like being so comfortable, I guess introduce a lot more like filler words in the end. I think like in the beginning it was really smooth and really easy to follow, and throughout, you know, you would still clarify things and pick up, but I think like as the story progressed, sometimes things would be a little bit more hard to follow, so I guess, I don't know, maybe like go as slow as you did in the beginning throughout the whole thing. That's good.
Okay, good. Julie, I liked your speech. Liked your confidence up there. You weren't shaking or frightened or anything like that. You're comfortable in your own skin, and I liked that. That was good. Good preview of where you were going and what you were going to do, so we knew what was to follow. The first story you told of giving the senior citizen your seat was a good story of respect. I assume that it emanated from you thinking, I respect your respect. You saying the mantra, and it came up naturally. You were obviously trained by good parents to be respectful to people and give up your seat naturally to people that need it, be it senior citizens or anyone else. On the bad, yeah, I guess that's a whole milieu and weird context and culture of that Greek week and the pledging and all that stuff. And people wonder if you have ulterior motives for smiling at them, and I think that locks it in. And what I would say about that is, if your heart is pure, then you know you're fine with it. You can still give off the respectful vibration and still think to yourself, I respect you, even when you don't smile. You can still be saying, I respect you, and give off respectful vibrations to people. The ugly, yeah, I think that the only solution to that is, that is the bad feeling of being judged when you're disrespected. But that's the challenge, and when you're being disrespected, to still come back and say, I respect you, even though you're being disrespected. That's the challenge. I like the way you handled your design in terms of saying at the end of each section what you learned, and you put it there instead of a long section at the end of what you learned. It seemed to follow pretty nicely in that way. So I think overall you did a good job. I would have liked to just have you started with this idea of there are two forms, and so some tie back to the two forms in the end would have had a nice circularity to it and had it all hang together. And I do agree at the end you became a little wordy and kind of lost your way, and we're kind of wondering how to end this darn thing or something. But overall it was a good job. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone sign the roll sheet?
Just kidding. Almost forgot.
Okay, another volunteer, please. You only have 2 volunteers. Oh, there's another one. Thank you. I need your outline, please. How's it working?
Pretty good. I like it.
And the battery?
75%.
Yeah,
70.
good. That's good. Knock on wood with that battery. You're good there. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so I'm Tiffany again.
Hi, Tiffany again.
And so I'm good to go.
Well, if your audience is with you and you're in the power stance and you feel good about everything, then rock and roll.
Okay, so throughout the last couple days doing this experiment, I think first thing I noticed is that I got a lot less talkative, and I didn't really realize how much I stomped over people's comments and conversations and interrupted people. And so my initial approach to this assignment to show respect was just to give people complete attention. not being on my phone and not getting distracted, not diverting my eyes, and of course not interrupting them. And so that was going on for maybe the first 2 days, but on Sunday I had a conversation with a friend who really wants to be a teacher, and we were talking about how teachers are really highly respected, especially in different countries and stuff, and about how that relationship in itself, recognizing yourself as a student is really humbling, and then recognizing someone else as a teacher is saying, well, I have something to learn from you, and I think that you have something of value that I should be listening to. And my friend proposed that, what if we approached every single person that we met as a teacher, and thought to ourselves with every conversation, what can I learn from this person's insights and this person's experiences and this person's judgments? So that was kind of like the roadmap starting around the middle of the weekend, and transitioning from listening just to appear like I'm listening, so not being on my phone because I don't want you to think I'm disrespectful and kind of doing it for an image, and then transitioning to listening because I want to learn something from you, and listening because I think it's valuable to listen to you. And so this of course led to a lot of good conversations, but also led to some bad and ugly realizations about myself. So yeah, so of course I was still having conversations with friends as usual, but they were a lot more open than usual, and I felt like even the people that I thought I was really close to, we were having a lot more genuine conversations, because of course people can pick up when you're actually listening to them and not distracted or not just thinking about yourself. So one example was one of my closest friends here, for the first time, she opened up about how her brother has a mental handicap, which I never ever knew about, and just like the effect that it's had on her family, that she wrote about for her personal statement, and just, we had a conversation about that, and thinking about a couple weeks ago, if I was sitting in her room talking to her, I'd probably be on my phone. Of course, unintentionally, not trying to disrespect her and not trying to give her the impression that I don't care, but, if I didn't have respect as the forefront of filtering my actions, I probably would have been on my phone and we never would have had that conversation. And so that led to the bad, which was just the realization that this assignment was just so hard for me. And that was something that was hard to accept, because it's kind of discomforting to think that an assignment on being respectful is something that I had to struggle with, and something that I had to put a lot of effort into keeping in mind. I think because a lot of us just assume that we're respectful people because we're not outwardly rude or mean to people, and I'm sure in the beginning of this exercise, no one was like, oh great, like I can practice my respect because I suck at it. Like, we all probably thought we were pretty respectful. So that was a little bit difficult for me to accept, that I really had to put a lot of effort into making respect my primary focus. But then going into the ugly realization, which is even worse, and which was even more difficult for me to admit to myself, was that for people that I met in my life, I realized that my default level of respect was shamefully low, and even if I communicated respect to them, I kind of had this mindset that people had to prove themselves to me or show me something of worth to come to respect them. Like if I learned that you're an amazing athlete, or I learned that you won the Nobel Prize or something, and then it would shoot up and it's like, okay, I respect you, and like it would go up like that, when it really should be switched, like I should be respecting people, and then if they for some reason lose that, then it goes down. And so understanding that for whatever reason I was coming from this place of superiority when that's ridiculous, and I'm of course not in any place of superiority, and understanding that disrespecting someone was basically saying, you're failing to meet my personal standards, and my standards are more valid than yours, which is not true. And then so adopting that idea of being the student and humbling myself and approaching everyone as a teacher and seeing what can I learn from you just really helped a lot in taking away that position that I was putting myself in, and really learning that I could probably use a lot of improvement in my values, and it's not necessarily true that your values are valid, or your values are more right, because you could be the one who's morally wrong, or not as intelligent, or whatever, and just really keeping that in mind. So.
Thank you for waiting to come in while she was
Appreciate that.
speaking. Appreciate that. We're here. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Angelica.
Hi,
Angelica.
So I really like Tiffany's speech because it was very intimate and very personal. It revealed a lot about what she thought and what she felt. Not necessarily, not just her experiences, but also the impact that these experiences had on herself and on her own thinking and perception of the world and herself. So I really like that it was very personal and offered a view inside her own head.
Good, yeah. Yeah, it's talk of her own sort of psychological evolution or transformation doing the exercise. Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Okay, so I thought your speech was like really good too, but the other thing is I don't think I like heard a third story. I don't know, maybe I just missed it, but like your second and third kind of blended together. So that was kind of it, really.
Okay. Yeah. Tiffany, let's talk about your speech. I think that you were brutally honest about yourself, and I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate the fact that you basically said to start your speech, the first thing you did was that you shut up and started to listen instead of being on your phone or yapping back to people, and finally started to be respectful, let other people have a say. And I think that's the beginning of being respectful and knowing and remembering that every human being has a story to tell, and a really interesting story, if you could only be patient enough to listen to it and to get it to come out and to hear it. And as you learned of your friend's or brother's sad mental condition, you know. And everyone has their story. So I liked the metaphor that you used of the teacher thing, and I thought that was excellent. On the your first story of the brother and that sort of thing, I thought that was good. On the bad, it was personal with you of what you described for your own self of what you how you behave toward other people. And yes, I agree. I would have liked to have had more of a I'm going to tell you in the beginning what I'm going to do, and I would have liked a summary at the end, a little more road mapping, and a little more story-ish in here would have helped this work a little bit better. But it still worked on a very interesting level because it was so very personal. It was very real and very authentic, so it held up. So that was good. I thought your confession that you only deal with Nobel laureates, I thought was telling and good and honest, and I thought that was it took courage to express that, and I think that that kind of understanding is the beginning of wisdom, really. A little bit better summing up at the end of overall what you learned would have been helpful, and but overall you did a nice job, and I think you got into the spirit of the assignment. Just continue to repeat the mantra of that I respect you in the style of a teacher, and to see what kind of results it will pay off for you. Thank you. Okay, another volunteer. Yeah, back here. Thomas. Oh, you're not Thomas. Okay.
Well, not Thomas.
I need your outline, please.
Oh, right, okay. Thank you. Hi, my name is Shelby Grosser.
Hi, Shelby.
And this was actually the perfect weekend to do the respect experiment for me because it was the most tiring weekend of my life. I went through sorority recruitment, and honestly, this was my first time. I am a member of Kappa Delta, but I never went through it my first year because I actually was a winter COP. So it was a daunting experience. Over the weekend, I spoke to approximately 180 girls for anywhere from 6 to 45 minutes. That's 180 first conversations, so it was a little emotionally exhausting, but I learned a lot of things as I tried to use my respect experiment on every single girl I talked to. A lot of times, studies have shown that sorority recruitment decreases a woman's self-confidence in herself by up to 30 points on a 100-point scale. It's really stressful to talk to someone for the first time and have your entire personality and life be decided upon for a certain house. So it was a big decision, and though I can't change the entire system, I can change the experiences that the girls I talked to went through. During this experiment, I learned 3 things. The first thing is that confidence is what you learn from respect. Respect builds confidence. If you are respectful to someone else, then your conversation and yourself come off as more confident. The second thing I learned, it was that respect has to be mutual in order to really feel it. And the third thing I learned is that respect is something that we need to teach in schools. It was very important. So I'll first talk about some of the good experiences I had. I talked to a lot of really nice girls, and before going through recruitment, I watched a video from a lady named Amy Cuddy on nonverbal respect. She talked about doing power poses if you're nervous before going through something. So power poses include standing like this or putting your arms above your head for about 5 minutes. So I tried to do that before going through every conversation. It actually works a little bit. I was trying to do a little bit in my seat before coming up here. So I had 2 girls in particular that I really felt like I connected with when we respected each other. I met them at the door to my sorority, and we shook hands, and I looked directly in the eye when I spoke to them and said, "I'm so glad to meet you." When we went and sat down, I sat a little closer to them than I normally would in conversation. And I really leaned in and tried to listen to everything they had to say, as well as use a respectful voice and respectful tone. I'm going to change names a little bit so to keep everyone's privacy, but the first girl that I remember, her name was Renata. We immediately shook her hand, looked her in the eye. When we sat down, we soon bonded over our shared love for musical theater and our shared working experience. By the end of the conversation, I noticed that our words were flowing over one another, and we were leaning in very close, and we were very disappointed when the bell rang and we had to stop our conversation. I felt like it was the foundation for a real friendship when we finished talking. And it was because we both respected each other, and our respect built confidence in what we were saying. The second girl that I talked to, his name was Audrey. I sat down, and this time I tried to have a very excited vibe when I met her. I felt like sometimes your nonverbal energy kind of leads to a good conversation as well. So I told her I was very excited to meet her, and I tried to keep myself pumped up. And we also made really good friends. We talked about our shared town that we both lived in, and our mutual experiences. And I'm happy to say she joined Kappa Delta, so I think we'll be friends in the next few years. And I really feel like it had to do with the respect that we showed one another. However, I did have some negative experiences. I feel like respect has to be reciprocated in order to truly feel the effects. And with one girl in particular, I did not feel that it was reciprocated. When I met her, she didn't look me in the eye. When I shook her hand, she looked down. When we sat on a chair together, she had a drink in her hand and she stirred it constantly. Her bra was kind of hanging out. We just didn't really connect that much on a personal level. I tried to keep the conversation going. I kept leaning forward and I talked to her, tried to bring up new conversation topics and try to keep everything flowing, but I really don't feel like we had a connection that we normally would. I also kind of feel like this was my fault. When I first met her, I got a little distracted and I looked away for a second, and I feel like she might have been disrespected in that way. And I feel like that respect was not mutuated, so unfortunately it didn't work out as well as I had planned. I didn't have any truly ugly experiences throughout Rush. I had a lot of good experiences. It was a pretty fun, albeit stressful process. But I do feel like I learned that it's kind of an ugly process that we judge so much about someone by the first 30 seconds of nonverbal behavior that we see. That's something that we learned during recruitment when we were getting ready, is that you judge someone within the first 10 seconds of meeting them. And in the first 60 seconds, you already have an opinion that's very hard to change. A lot of this is because of nonverbal behavior. I think that's sad because a lot of people don't know this fact, and so a lot of people just naturally feel uncomfortable, they kind of hold themselves in, they feel awkward, and this gives a bad first impression. But people don't even know it, and so they go through life not knowing why certain things happen or why they're considered to be shy or unapproachable. A lot of times also people have kind of a negative resting face, and I feel like this can be negative and also hurts them in the long run because they don't seem like they're as respectful when it's really not anything they can do. I had one experience as well that was more negative as well, that was about respect not being reciprocated and shown. I was walking back to my dorm after recruitment ended, and I passed a group of guys. and they all said hi to me, and I said, oh, hello, and they're like, yeah, that was the third one, and they like high-fived each other and kept walking, and I was just kind of offended by that, but I feel like they didn't show me respect in terms of the way they said that and the way they were speaking about me when they left, and they just kept walking, but because of the respect experiment, I just kept going, didn't say anything, so I definitely feel like I'm going to try to keep what I learned in the respect experiment with me for the rest of the time and try to keep all of my conversations open and more friendly, because respect builds confidence, and confidence builds friendship, and that is really a very important thing. So thank you very much.
Christine.
Hi, Christine.
I thought you were a wonderful speaker. You were very fluid, you were engaging, and I felt like you were really speaking to us. You looked around the room, you were confident in what you were saying, and throughout your speech, you were laughing and engaging. You were having fun up there, and I think that made us feel like we were having fun. We were being into our seats and trying to really hear what you were saying and listen to the stories, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, a person enjoying themselves is contagious. So enthusiasm is contagious for a speaker. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
It's going to be really hard to make critics. I'll try to provide comments. I was a bit confused by the bra thing. You were like, her bra was hanging out, and I don't get how to do that. And other than this, I don't really have relevant comments to give. I totally felt connected to what you were saying, and yeah, maybe I'm not sure where you. I don't know where did you find the thing that you judge someone in the first seconds, but I think it's funny because my two best friends, I hated them at first, so I don't know if I really agree with that, but it was relevant and it was interesting. So
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Comm Studies gives a course in nonverbal communication, and so if any of you want to pursue nonverbal communication in depth, I recommend taking the course. There's all kinds of statistics flying around about first impressions and how long they last and how quickly we make judgments about people. But there's no question that we are making judgments about people. 2,500 years ago, Aristotle made the same observation that people are deciding on the credibility of a speaker in the first 30 seconds of listening to him or her and deciding whether that speaker is what Aristotle called, in his sexist way, a good man. And if he's a good man, they will listen to him. And if not, they're going to daydream for the rest of the speech. So, there's all kinds of anecdotal and research on that. Let me talk to your speech, Shelby. I liked your speech. You're very confident. The way you're standing now is not the power stance, and that's the way you stood in your speech. It's like you're a ballet dancer or a former dancer or something. And so I'd like you to get out of that. Stay more in the power stance, like a tripod. I think it will work better. I like that you spoke to something that you knew, your sorority experience, and you were able to talk to this in great detail, and so you were very knowledgeable about that. Just a little better verbal preview of where you were going to do and go, and give us a good, bad, and ugly, and tell us more of what was going to happen. I liked I liked the way you were respectful of the names of people, that you changed the name to protect the innocent. And your storytelling was excellent because I felt I was almost there in the interviews, and so they were that real to me. And so that was good, and I could feel the enthusiasm over the musical theater and that sort of thing. And I like the way that you took responsibility for the girl that had her bra hanging out, as you put it. You know, I don't think you meant it so much that way as the defining characteristic of her. But there are just times when we get off on the wrong foot with a person, and there's just no connecting or clicking. You had some stuff in here about Target, but you didn't bring that up. So I guess you chose not to talk about that.
Yeah, I thought our paper was supposed to be like.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fine. On the final thing, I want to talk about this because it hasn't come up yet, but there is a... when people are this comes up, unfortunately, it's a problem that women have when they're respectful or smile towards certain men, especially drunk fraternity boys. They interpret this as, she wants me, or something worse. And I just have to say, you have to be discreet in these contexts and go more to the real nonverbal, just saying the mantra silently in these contexts, because I've had a lot of reports of people smiling and just giving off the respectful vibration and having it turn into an ugly situation. One guy pushing a phone in your face, put your number in here now. It's like, wow, whoa. That's pretty aggressive, you know. So these guys, you know, counting the notches on their thigh bone for how many girls they could get to say hello to them. You were number 3, apparently. It was kind of sad. But anyway, that's my sermon for the day. Anyway, you did a nice job. It was stay in the power stance. And just get in the habit of doing that, and make that one of your goals next time. So when you practice with your study buddy or somebody, just have that be one of your goals, to stay in the power stance. And move 3 times purposefully on each of your points, and come back into the power stance as you move. But you did a nice job. Thank you. Another volunteer. Yeah, there's Thomas. Okay, there we go. How's that battery doing? Yeah, it's doing well. Good. Hang in there, old battery.
What do you do if the camera breaks?
10, 15.
Oh, I have backups.
Batteries?
Yeah. I learned the hard way.
Can I begin?
If you have your audience, if you're in the power stance and everyone's looking, no one's texting, you've communicated respect non-verbally to your audience, say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hello, for those of you who may or may not know, my name is Thomas Sullivan.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Today I'd like to talk about respect. Personally, I define respect as showing an appreciation for oneself and for others. There are many ways to show respect, both verbally and non-verbally, but my focus was in showing respect in non-verbal ways. For 48 hours, I tried to be the most respectful I could be. I held doors open for people, truly listened to others' concerns, and made sure I was courteous of others' time and space. It was interesting to see how others reacted to the respect that I showed them. I found that it was easier to respect others when I received respect or recognition in return. In fact, whether I received respect or recognition in return determined whether I perceived the event in a positive or a negative way. And now I'd like to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of my experience, along with a story to illustrate each example. People remember when others treat them with respect, which is a very good thing. My good story goes like this. This past weekend, there was a gathering for my dorm building, a type of social event called Eat, Meet, and Greet. As you can imagine, there was food, drinks, games, and the goal of the event was to get acquainted with others living in the same building. I arrived late, but as I walked in, a girl came up to me and said that she remembered me holding the door open for her earlier that day. She introduced herself as Mary, and she also introduced me to everyone else she was sitting with. Thanks to my act of respect earlier that day, I made a few new friends without even really trying. This positive reaction made me feel respected. However, when someone takes advantage of the respect you show, or fails to value your time, it can lead to a bad experience. Here's my bad story. I called my friend Brianna the other day to see how she was doing. She asked me about school, and I told her that it was great, and that I just wanted to call her quickly before I went to hang out with some friends. She recently started an internship, so I asked her how that was going. She then proceeded to talk to me for over 20 minutes, telling me all she had to do, why she was so exhausted, despite the fact that I told her I was trying to head out the door. Finally, after 20 minutes, she told me that she had to go because she was so busy. I felt like she didn't even listen to what I had to say, and she didn't seem to respect my time. I feel that this experience was bad, because despite my act of respect, I was treated with disrespect. I can easily forgive Brianna, though, mostly because I don't think she was sincere about her act of disrespect. I think she was just stressed. For me, an ugly experience is when someone intentionally disrespects you after you show them an act of respect. My ugly experience took place in Covell Dining Hall, and it went like this. So the place was packed, and I was in line for pasta when the girl in front of me turned to ask if I could please hold her spot in line. She said she'd return quickly, so I agreed. However, she didn't say she'd return with 10 other people who all cut in front of me. Looking back, I think this was the ugliest aspect of my experience, because despite my act of respect, I was intentionally disrespected in return. However, I did learn several things from this experience. My first example illustrates how receiving respect or recognition in return for good actions simply feels good, which is why we call it a good experience. Likewise, my last two examples illustrate how receiving disrespect in return for good actions doesn't feel good, which is why we call it a bad or an ugly experience, depending on one's point of view. In addition, humans are selfish and needy creatures. If we don't want to feel used, and if we do something nice or good for someone, especially a stranger, we expect to receive respect or recognition in return. In closing, while I consider myself to be a very respectful and courteous person, I did find it difficult to respect others when I didn't receive respect in return. Respect can easily spread, so long as all others in the group feel that they are being reciprocated with respect. However, it can be lost just as easily when someone feels an act of kindness was not reciprocated. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Trish. Hi, Trish. I felt that you were a very good speaker. It was really easy to follow, and you were very confident in what you said, so I feel like that made it very easy to follow along with you, and that your points were very clear, and you were clear throughout the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. Improvement?
Hi, my name's Trenton.
Hi, Trenton.
For improvement, I feel like you took a lot of long pauses in between different paragraphs, and I think that was probably due to the note cards. And so maybe for the next time, you can work on maybe having them closer together.
Okay, good. Yeah, I would say work on not having note cards at all, so you can have your hands gesture. You started, Thomas, with a definition which you wanted to let us know what you meant by respect and how you operationalized it by listening to others and being courteous and that sort of thing. So that was good. I very much liked your preview. It was what I'm looking for, the good, the bad, the ugly, and what I learned. So we knew exactly what you were going to do. It was good. On your good story, I liked the way that your good karma caught up with you with opening the door. I remember Tom was a good guy. Let's invite him over. Let's have him meet other people and that sort of thing. So that was a good story. I would have liked to have a little longer moral to it at the end of that story. On your bad story with your friend Brianna, I think this is a challenge when you have friends like this that aren't sensitive, but I think that, and then you said at the end, it's hard for me to be respectful when I'm being disrespected, and I don't want to give it back. And that's the challenge, to continue to repeat this mantra when you are being disrespected. And I would encourage you to try it, because I think that maybe Brianna can come around, and maybe she was just stressed that day or something. So I wouldn't give up on her. On the Covell Commons situation, this isn't the first time I've heard this story in this class, and I hear it. Usually, it comes in summer classes with the what's the name of the people that jump up and twirl? What are those called? What? They have summer camps for people that cheerleaders. This summer, one cheerleader asked, "Could you hold my place in line?" And she brought back 20 of her friends to cut in line. Boy, I thought that was nervy. The question was, could you still be respectful at that moment, or did you sit there and sort of fume and?
Yeah. I mean, no, I was still respectful.
Yeah.
But I mentioned it was just more challenging to continue to be respectful when I didn't feel the person was respecting me.
Right. And I know it is, and I appreciate your honesty. What I'd like to see you do is get rid of the notes next time, and I'd like to see you try to loosen up a little bit in your presentation. Maybe use a little humor to tell jokes or something. Just lighten up a little in your presentation. I think that'd make you a more effective speaker. Thank you.
Because I feel like it's going to stop in the middle of the next speech.
Well, let's let it stop, and then let's see if we can get see if we can knock it. I usually get an hour 10.
An hour and 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I get an hour 10. You think? We'll see who's right. Okay, next. I'll go, she says. Okay, a voice from the back. Okay, good.
If it stops in the middle of her speech, you want me to stop her, or do you want to just let it go?
Just change the batteries.
Okay. Well, then I just,
You know how to change the batteries?
Yes, I should be okay at that.
You just pull the front off and do it. Okay, she's managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, I'm Arzu.
Hi Arzu. Oh, I don't have your outline.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And over the course of a weekend, I experienced a nice hug, an unfashionably late friend, and an enraged security guard, and my attempt to communicate respect non-verbally. So before I started the experiment, I had to define what respect meant to me. And it was more than just the elementary definition of treating people how you want to be treated, because I think that works when you're 6, but as you grow older, and you're in professional and personal settings, it doesn't work as well. So it's treating people how you wish to be treated if they've earned that right. But seeing as the experiment is everyone's earned that right, I decided to use the definition my parents told me, which was doing as you're told and listening when appropriate. So that was what I did alongside saying the mantra in my head. And what I got out of it was the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll start off with the good. The good was my friend Maite. Maite is the sweetest girl ever. To everyone she sees, she drops everything and has to greet you with the biggest of smiles, the widest of hugs, and the loudest of hellos. And I saw her immediately after receiving this prompt, actually. And she was carrying like her nursing scrubs, her huge backpack, and she drops everything to say hi and hug me, and I reciprocated as well. And it's just, that reminded me how like showing respect, you'll gain it back. Then there was the bad. And that was when my friends and I, we planned a brunch together. It was like 11:30 a.m., all meet at this time, whatever. And one of my friends decides to text us all 10 minutes before brunch that she's going to be late. All right, that's cool. Except she was late by an hour and a half. And she could have at least, I don't know, told us to reschedule, like she had an entire day. We felt really disrespected because she was our good friend and we thought she would have the courtesy to show up on time because a lot of us had moved our plans to show up on time, and she could have done the same or told us, maybe another day would have been better. And the good
the bad, happened with people I knew. The ugly happened with a stranger. It was at the football game. You know when everyone's trying to get into the tunnel and you need a stamp to get through? So we're waiting, and the security guard, he stamps my friend, but he doesn't stamp me. And he tells all of us to stop, and that he'll kick us out if any of us try to go through. So, showing nonverbal respect, I stand there and I keep my silence, and I'm like, I want to go into the game, so I'm just going to stand here and be patient. And to my surprise, everyone around me starts advocating for me. They're like, wait, I know you can't let us in, but you should let this girl in because you already let her friend in. And I was surprised that everyone was advocating for me because I was just standing there silently, minding my own business. And the security guard's like, no, I need to wait for backup. Backup comes in the form of another security guard, and he starts stamping all of us. So we're like, cool, let's go to the game. So we all try to walk through the tunnel when the original security guard starts yelling at us. He says, what part of I'm going to kick you out do you all not understand? And we're confused because we have the stamp, so we should be allowed to go in. Then, the new security guard, the one who stamps us, looks at us all and he's like, I stamped you all. Why are you all still standing here? You're holding up everyone else. So we're all just really confused as to who to listen to at this point. And eventually we decided to just, to walk through because the game was already started. It was 5 minutes into it. We already had a stamp. Why not? And I was the closest person to the original security guard. And he sees us all. He yells at us, and me, being the closest person to him, he yanks on my hair to get me to stop going. And at that point, I knew respect had flew out the window, and I moved on to my merry way, because there was nothing I could do more. And so what I learned through these 3 experiences is that you try to display respect, and maybe you won't always get the results you wanted, but if you don't try, then you never know. Like, if I didn't try to be respectful, I would have never seen my friend Maite, who gave me the biggest of hugs, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten my hair yanked. But you never know unless you try. And if you're not respectful, how can you expect to ever receive any respect back? And that is why I say, don't let anyone discourage you, and always put your best foot forward for the times where someone surprises you.
Okay, come on behind me. Yes, here. Hi. Come on in. Thank you for waiting.
My name is Blake.
Hi, Blake.
Okay, I thought that your story was really engaging, and it had really good structure, and it was actually really entertaining in general. And you have really good confidence and stage presence, and yeah.
Okay. Entertaining story. Improvement.
Sorry, my name is Brianda.
Hi, Brianda.
I don't really know how you can improve because I think you were super engaging. You were really good. Maybe, I don't know. I think you stalled a little bit between your first 2 stories and the third one, which I enjoyed the most. The third was awesome, so it was worth the wait. But maybe just, I don't even know what would improve that, but that was the only thing I noticed that was kind of lulled for a second, but it was a very good speech.
R-A-Z-U, right?
R-A-Z.
R-A-Z. R-A.
No, it's like a R-A.
R-A-Z.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm with the program now. Like the way you started out your speech with your definition, so you got into, you brought people into the same space that you were in, and you talked about the golden rule not quite working for all the circumstances that we're talking about, but you were absolutely right. I wanted you to give everyone respect, whether they had earned it or not, at least initially, until they pull your hair. And then, the respect experiment is off. All right? Yeah. On the, your friend, I didn't get... I got the feeling that she does this anyway, whether you give her the respectful vibration or not. So I didn't get I didn't get the link to you giving the respectful vibration to her, or was it an especially wonderful hug this time because you were giving her respectful vibration? I didn't get the link to the respect on your first story, but could have been me. On the Priscilla story. Again, how did you react to Priscilla? What was it like? You slut, you bee, you ugly woman, or were you respectful, or how did you yell at her, or call her names, or what did you do?
I mean, we just like stood there for an hour and a half and we waited for her.
Wow.
So I think all the like fuming kind of had a lot of time to sizzle. So by the time she came, it was like, it's cool, just don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that this is an example of being respectful of people's time is something, at least you were thinking about respect, and this was clearly an example of disrespect, but this is an example of where the mantra needs to get repeated when you're being disrespected in that way. But I think something can be said in a gentle and constructive way of, respect my time, please. Doctors are notorious for keeping people waiting for 2 hours in their waiting room, and they think they have a right to disrespect your time. I find that interesting. I don't know what to say about the security guard story. It sounds like a power trip. It sounds like alcohol. It sounds weird. It sounds like weird stuff just going on there. But I don't think that the physicality of it all, that's when it got really weird, when he grabbed your hair. That's when I think the respect exercise had to stop at that point. I would have liked to have had you summarize a little better on what I saw on these three. Here's more what I learned and that sort of thing. But overall, you did the exercise. I would say continue to repeat the mantra and try to give off respectful vibrations to everyone you meet, regardless of whether they've, quote, earned it or not, and see if you don't get the good results, okay? Thank you.
Should I change it now? It's like 4 minutes left, maybe.
Yeah, I will change it now. Okay, yeah, it's that time. Yeah, we go. Okay.